Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary, who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Abogo and Tay Kofi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shine Out Show with myself, Lillian Abogo, and my ever delectable co-host, Tay Kofi.
Oh, what an intro. You can come again. I'll take that in writing as well, Lillian. Thank you so much.
And before we continue, we have the queen of badassery, the very, very, very delectable Carole Pyke with us this evening. Hey, Carole.
Hi there. I knew I loved you. Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
What I'm really loving is a clash of accents. I mean, this sounds so transatlantic, and you sound so English.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Well, nobody's perfect.
Oh, God. Don't hold that against me.
No, not.
But she sounds so beautiful. I mean, come on now.
She's got one of the best voices in broadcast. I've seen Carole's post on Facebook. They're all a delight. Very spontaneous live Facebook broadcasts.
Nice.
Worth watching, worth looking out for. And one of the things that hooks me in, apart from your content, is the sound of your voice and the quality of your voice. It's always fresh and bright. She's standing there like in a Force 10 gale, and the smile is beaming out of her face, and her voice is just absolutely delicious.
See, I like Ted too. I'm sandwiched between Lillian and Ted. This is fabulous.
Yeah, listen, I call this the Carole sandwich. This is the Carole sandwich. So, we're going to get into this. I mean, you're a woman after my own heart. You believe that you have to eat dessert first because life is short.
Yeah, because what would happen if the world ended and you'd only had the main meal? I mean, that's just so wrong. Eat dessert first.
You know what? I think I'm going to try that. That has to be the mantra. I like chocolate, so my chocolate comes first before the steak.
Yeah.
Make sure you got space for it, though.
That's kind of good.
There's always space. There's always space. That's not the problem. But you know what? I am so delighted to get you on the show this evening. I heard you went on a walkabout before you came in.
Yes. One of the interesting things, and I'm sure that we'll talk about is I had a stroke. And so one of the after effects of that is that I actually have no sense of direction. Some people would say that I didn't have any before, so probably there isn't such a major change. But bearing in mind that the tube station is actually across the road, I think I've done my 10,000 steps because I used the sat-nav on my phone to direct me to this place, but I forgot to tell the sat-nav that I wasn't a car.
Oh, okay.
So it took you around the trees.
So yes, it comes to me.
But you're still on time. That's amazing.
I know.
How's that proficiency and punctuality?
But that's okay, because you know that there's got to be a video that comes out about this.
So, look, can we cut straight to where we are, where we're going? Okay.
Let's do this.
Obviously, next week is going to be one of those kind of annual milestones, Valentine's Day, 14th of February.
Yes.
And I know that when I've spoken with friends, there's always a huge kind of hubbub going on about Valentine's Day. So I often ask myself, is Valentine's really about passion, or is it really about pressure? Pressure to perform, pressure to deliver something. So it's wholly appropriate that you're here. We can kick off, by looking at...
I'd say it's about pressure. It's a commercial time where businesses have more opportunities to sell stuff. And it's also the one time where it is, as a single person, I'm happily single, but it's not my first choice. But as a single person, that Valentine's Day and around that time, I know that I'm single. Up until that point, I probably haven't thought about it in great detail. But around Valentine's Day, there's this whole thing that if you're single, that you aren't part of this kind of whole...
But there's something wrong, you're not quite doing the right thing.
It's not for you.
It's not for you.
But you know what? I have a thing to that, because I say, if you're single, especially if you're single, celebrate it. Get your single friends together. This is not a commiseration we're single. This is let's actually take care of ourselves. Let's, give each other roses. It's not kind of weird kind of way, but buy yourself the chocolate. Take yourself out for dinner. If you don't want to go out for dinner because you're just afraid of the inundation of over happy couples, you guys stay home. Have dinner, come to you guys. do something. Don't sit indoors and think, oh my God, I don't have a date. The world is over.
But I'm with you on that because I've done that. I've done an evening where I've got the girls together and everybody's brought a love gift, because if Valentine's Day is about love, then it's about love per se and not just about love in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because you're starting that relationship with yourself. And if you can't buy yourself the roses, if you can't buy yourself the chocolate,
then
how can you expect anybody else to?
Exactly.
And so, yes, so it's about kind of celebrating that space. But there is kind of part of you, particularly if you want to be in a relationship and you're not, at that point where you're thinking, oh, I haven't got one. But it is about actually celebrating where it is that you are and not commiserating about the fact that what it is that you don't have.
Exactly, because I think on an energetic level, you kind of get in that space of saying, well, you know what, let me celebrate what it is that I want. So if I want to have the great romance, if I want the gifts, the flowers, the pampering, then let me create that space in my own life to receive it, so that
don't you think that there's enormous pressure on people to actually feel miserable if they're not in a couple? Because there's this kind of pressure. You go through the shops and all the roses are there and all the bottles are there and the special Valentine's packs are there and so on and so forth. And you go into the gift shops and they've got all these snazzy gifts and so on and so forth. Surely people feel as if, well, there's something wrong with me because I haven't got somebody who's going to be buying me this stuff.
I think they do, but the point that Lillian made was the fact that it's about celebrating love. And if it's about celebrating love, the place where it is that we need to start is at home.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to start with ourselves. Because if you don't love you, you're spending your waking hours and your sleeping hours with somebody that you can't stand. That's got to be the most
that's the most
ever.
Exactly.
That's a quote. Can we tweet that?
Of course. Because, let's slow down a minute and appreciate that, because if you don't love you, here's my question.
Your time with somebody you can't stand.
Exactly, but how do you expect somebody else to love you? And if you don't know love, how do you expect somebody else to come in
That's brilliant.
and actually, give you what you don't recognize?
No, I really like that.
Now, I'm on a love affair. I'm having the most amazing love affair with myself. But I also want to say to listeners that somebody knows my husband, and just in case it's you, know that it's okay to introduce him to me. But in the meantime, I'm just... And I think that's what it is that we need to do, particularly as women, because I think that perhaps we feel it more than men do. I mean, I don't know. I'm maybe just making assumptions there. But as women, we really need to celebrate ourselves, but celebrate each other. And that if it is that you are single this Valentine's Day, find your girlfriends and just kind of celebrate and laugh and eat chocolate, and buy roses. And if it is you want to go out to dinner or have a takeaway, do it. Celebrate that moment. Don't use it as one to beat yourself up about what it is that you don't have or that you should have.
And you've actually jumped into something here when you said about, if somebody out there knows your husband. There are a lot of women and a lot of people, especially in the ethnic community, as women, we're kind of told, oh, we shouldn't say, we should wait, he's coming. I think it was Boaz or something. So Boaz is going to find you under your bed or something. I don't know. But
a lot of women in church are sitting there and are bitter and angry because they've been told to wait. And I think that there is the kind of whole thing that the man should find you as opposed to you going out there scouring. But what we forget is, what do you do? How do you wait when you're waiting? That whole thing, that waiting is a verb. It isn't, I'm just going to sit here and something exciting is going to happen from that space. Because if I say to you that I'm looking for a man that's athletic, that's muscular, that's all of those things, what am I doing to make myself attractive to that kind of man?
I think you just described Idris Elba. So Idris, Carole is waiting for you. Because that description was serious. But yeah, that's very important there, because the whole thing about waiting, I remember once I was having this great discussion during a workshop. Some woman told me she doesn't date, she's waiting for the man and she's waiting in her house. I go, lady, if you wake up and someone's in your house, it's not a relationship.
Call the police.
Call the popo. It's not a relationship. Call the cops. Call somebody. Call for help.
Yeah, but it's so interesting, this thing about cause and effect, expectation, and the part you play in meeting that expectation, because it seems that people want to have something for nothing. If you want to have a person of a certain quality with certain attributes, you've got to be able to connect with those attributes. I mean, it's not a gimme. It's not yours by right.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it?
No, that isn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I have another question, because a lot of men who are in relationships take heat for not knowing how to be romantic. So I'm going to ask both of you for hot tips on, if you want to make a situation romantic, what can a guy do to cut mustard?
I think that there isn't a recipe that says that this is what it is that you have to do in order for it to work.
Like
it has to be about who's your partner. You know, what is it that they like,
and who are you?
And who are you?
What comes naturally to you?
There is kind of something that talks about the 5 languages of love, and the fact that people either appreciate love in lots of different ways, and your job as a man is to know which way your partner likes love. Does she like gifts? Does she like you to be spontaneous? Does she like quality time? Does she like you to say how beautiful she is? I mean, what is it that actually rocks her boat? And once you know that, then you need to do more of that and wrap it in whatever packaging you need to wrap it in. Sure. Because I think that whole idea that actually there is a way to do it, it's all down to who it is that you are, who the person it is that you're with, and how it is that you connect and how it is that you flex.
Do you know, for me, it's like a greeting card. I hate greeting cards with ready-written scripts. Whatever it is, even if it's a Christmas card, I like the picture on the front, but I like to express it in my own words. And that's what you're really talking about.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And I think as a woman, I'm probably not speaking for all women, but we like to be surprised. We like the whole idea that you have thought about something, that we're not telling you to do it, but you have thought about it and actually put some energy, some effort into that, because that actually makes a difference to us.
You know what? I have to champion and agree with everything you've just said. There isn't a playbook. There isn't A plus B will equal C. There isn't a, if I give you this, I get this, and I do that, and ta-da! It doesn't work like that. It may work like that in the movies, but in real life, it's more complex than that. So you have to know who you're dealing with, and your A plus B plus C may have worked on Jenny, but on Titi, it's not going to work. Yeah. Or on Fatima, or a Carol or a Caroline or a Nicoletta, it won't work. You have to find what actually works for the woman you're with. Now, I have a thing. Now, my question about this whole Valentine's, because I'm coming from it from this angle. You see the commercials, you see everything. It's always about the women getting the gifts. It's always about the guys going to the
nth degree. I love you. I love you. I think I know where this is going.
What about the men? For heaven's sakes, I have seen women get some stank horrible gifts for their partners, and I'm like, you're just a wench. What is that? Why would you do that?
I think the thing is that if you are in a relationship with somebody, and you love them and whatever that means to you, then you want to do nice things for them. You want to make them see the smile on their faces, whether or not it's kind of a man or a woman.
Do you know, I whenever I've been in a relationship, back when I was married, it was so strange that everything they bought was exactly the thing I didn't know I really, really, really wanted. But it does become spontaneous. And if you're in sync with, if you're in a deep relationship with somebody, your eyes are, it's like having children. When you've got kids, you're always looking through the shops and thinking, ooh, that would look good on him, that would look good on her. How about that? It's a spontaneous thing. So carry on.
No, I think it is that. It is about having that communication, that connection, that actually that, if I bought him those socks, like some people like Star Wars, and there are some Star Wars socks out there that if your man loves Star Wars, that would work. Some people would say socks, but actually those are special socks because that they connect and relate to that.
And also there is a certain frisson that you get with every present because of who it's coming from. And that's worth factor X, which, a price tag just can't even capture. So, if you feel it, give it.
Exactly. Now we jumped all the way into the relationship piece. But you know what? Before we keep going down this road, because I am truly loving this, I want to know about this woman. I want to know,
How
I
you got here?
really want to know
How you got into this?
who and what you are and what makes you shine out loud.
Right, it's kind of interesting. I'm bold, bold, and bodacious. I love the word bodacious. Bodacious.
The 3 B's.
Yeah.
It's all the B's.
Yeah, and I guess I need to add a fourth one in there because I'm beautiful too.
Of course, you're gorgeous. Yes.
And that whole idea of, funnily enough, I have got this whole idea of stand out and shine. And that whole idea that we shouldn't be living life as a whisper, that whatever that means to you, that we should be shouting out loud. And out loud will mean different things to different people and in different industries or wherever it is that you're walking in your life. But the whole idea that actually don't just sit there in the corner, be the best representation of yourself that you can possibly be. And I think I've always had a kind of passion around identity and who it is that you are. And I'm a storyteller. So if I tell you about my challenges, my obstacles, it will always have a learning point. It'll always have something to make you laugh, to make you think. And so I've always been in that space. And it's interesting, I've had ill health for a number of years. And one of the things I always remember is that whenever it was that I went to the hospital, I would be a woman of a certain age with presenting symptoms and an underlying condition, and they didn't know or even care that I loved the colour red or the stuff that made me smile. And it's so easy to get caught up in other people's ideas of who it is that you are. And that whole realisation that actually the foundations and fundamentals of absolutely everything is who you think it is that you are. So I'm a Christian, I'm a born-again Christian, and I believe the Bible. And the word, the Bible, that tell me about how amazing it is that I am. But those are just words until it is I internalize it and believe it. And I think that that's similarly the same for other people. Eleanor Roosevelt once said that anybody can call you a dog, but you don't have to bark. And that whole thing that actually until you own it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it actually doesn't become real.
Yes.
And so that whole identity thing became really important to me. And then I had a stroke because, I just kind of thought that we would add a little bit of spice to things. I had a stroke, and there are a number of different kind of challenges that I still have as a result of that. But my eyes have been opened just from the point of view of just seeing the world from a different perspective. And recognizing the value of who it is that you are, that the currency is that you have in your hand. We don't recognize that or even understand or appreciate it. And so for me, looking in the business world and looking at women and women entrepreneurs, of recognizing that you're looking at how it is you can stand out, you're looking at how it is that you can make a difference, engage and have an impact with your audience. The thing that you have that nobody else has is that combination of experience, expertise, failures, mistakes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that you have them in a proportions that nobody else has.
Makes you unique.
And that makes you unique. That makes you stand out in the crowd. And what we need to be doing is we need to be owning those things and actually saying, do you know what? This is me. I'm real. This is what it is that's happened, but I've gotten back up. Because the key is not that falling down, because we all fall down. And actually, in order to succeed, you need to fall down to be able to get back up.
Yeah.
But it's the getting back up again. That if you can say to a woman that, I can say that I had a stroke. No, I didn't have a mini stroke. I had a full-blown stroke.
It was serious.
And actually, I need to say what it was because it always sounds like a swear word to me. It's a right frontal lobe infarct.
Okay.
Infarct. That's really exciting.
Don't try that when you're drunk.
Yeah, it may sound completely different. And so it was real, and that I recognise that there's still some things that I'm challenged with. So if you can believe this, if we're in this room right now, so there's 4 of us in the room at the moment, and you said, let's introduce ourselves, I actually can't do that. My brain would say, actually, we can't do that. And I would burst into tears. So there are those kind of challenges that still exist. And I recognise that I have 2 choices. Stay at home, because it's safe there, or recognise that a boat is safe in harbour, but that's not what it was created for.
Exactly.
And I wasn't created to sit at home in the corner. So therefore, every day I get up and I push through and I think, okay, that's a bit challenging. I didn't remember that was a problem. Okay. And then I've got to take a deep breath, catch myself, and keep going.
Wow.
And so it's that whole thing about helping people to recognize the value of what it is that they have in their hand. So for me, the stroke I now believe is a stroke of genius rather than a kind of a negative and debilitating something, just something that actually has said, do you know what? Actually, you've had a second chance. You've got another opportunity to be the best version of yourself. And so every day, that's what it is. And I'm not going to say that, every day's brilliant and I don't have down days, because, hey, we're all normal, real, but you need to have down days. In fact, I've decided that when you're in hospital and you're on a heart monitor, if it's flatlined, you're dead. And
Right.
so we're praying for it to go up and down, which is an indicator that you're alive. So I've decided that, therefore, to be alive, it needs to go up and down.
Okay.
Right. So when it's going up and down, it's okay. I am alive. And you just need to work with that. So my passion is really about just connecting with people so that they can see the value in who they are right where they are before it is that they go and be or do something else. Because so many times we're looking outside of ourselves for the answer. And I've done it. And there are still times where I think, looking in somebody else's plate and thinking, that bit of food is so much better than is what's in my plate. And actually what we need to do, I think it's a bit like being a chef.
Yeah.
And you're in the kitchen and there are a number of different ingredients in your cupboard that you can't be looking at what other people have got in their cupboard. You've got to look at how do you use the ingredients that you've got in the cupboard to make the dish that you want to make and add the spice and the flavour to it. And I think that we have an awesome sauce and we just need to sprinkle that on the ingredients.
Well, I'm so loving this. You didn't read any of this in a book. I mean, you lived it, you worked it out. But what comes up is that we all have a history as people of colour, living as minorities in this environment. And often people think they are who their environment tells them that they are. And one of the most persistent difficulties for people of colour is that the reflection from the environment is like a cracked mirror. It doesn't really reflect who you are.
Yeah.
So how do you advise people to actually reflect their own selves from themselves without relying on labelling, which is often actually quite damaging, destructive? You can see it in the lives of little children.
I think in real terms, we're never going to get away from labelling. So anybody that says that we will or thinks that we can actually needs to
take a reality check.
That we're not. And so it's that whole thing that we need to decide who it is that we are. And I think that oftentimes we need to have a vision of something that's greater than ourselves. So, they're saying I'm a Christian and the Bible says the people without kind of vision perish. And that whole idea that if you can't see something that you are aspiring to or looking to, it's so much easier to get pulled down by the things that other people said about you. When we look around the world and look at the different people have been in similar situations or the same situations, even twins or family members have grown up in the same way, and that one succeeded and one hasn't. And it isn't about money, it isn't about the environment, it's about how it is that they see themselves. So that if we kind of look at, I think, the whole political arena at the moment, if Obama had said there was no black man in the White House, there's never been a black president, so there's never going to be a black president. He never would have been a black president. So he had a vision that was bigger than himself. And even though situations and circumstances would have dictated that wasn't possible, actually, once we have a vision, that things start to open in different ways because we start to look at things in a different way. That whole idea that we need to have a vision, we need to write down our goals. That some people say, I've got the goals in my head. No, the act of actually writing them down actually brings them out into the open, which gives the universe or God, whoever it is that you want to attribute it to, the power to do something with it. Because there is a law of attraction that actually brings things to you, but you have to be open to them in the first place.
If I can loop back to what you were saying before about boats in harbours and your experience with the stroke and everything, we live in a time of alt facts, alternative.
It's a new thing,
aka lies.
Yes.
And so, but actually, you as well, Lillian. how do you deal with the matter of the lies that people are told and the lies that people tell themselves? Because actually, it was only from what you were saying when you confronted the reality of where you were that you were able to get up. What part does honesty with self and honesty with others play a role?
Honesty with self, that's really interesting, because one of the things that I've done this year is that there's a school of thought that says that we shouldn't bother with New Year resolutions, because as we know, New Year resolutions don't work.
No,
And, I always say that if you resolve to do something, it actually doesn't mean it's going to get done. You have to plan to do something, because then you're going to take necessary action. So there's this whole idea that you have one word for the year. So you decide on a word for the year, and then you're going to live your life from that place. And so my word for 2017 is value. And so it's kind of really interesting, because sometimes the experiences that we've had as a child have determined the direction or the course it is that we've taken. And that until we stop and actually say, okay, the way that things are playing out at the moment isn't how I'd like them to play out. And recognizing that the only person that can make a change is actually you. Because the one thing is that we all have, whatever the situation or the circumstance, is choice. So even if we don't feel that we can make a difference right now, even if we don't feel that we can kind of get up and do something right now, once we know that we can choose differently further down the line, that changes things. And so there is that whole thing about you need to identify somewhere it is you want to go, even if it's just down the road, somewhere it is you want to go. You need to start connecting with people that are going to be positive as opposed to being negative in your life, that are going to, that if you're having a down day, rather than come and sit with you in that space, that are actually going to encourage you to get back up. And if you don't have those people as physical people in your life, we have YouTube now. We have so many different places where it is that you can get positive messages to just kind of really encourage you to just look at things a little differently. Because I always think it's just about widening your perspective. Because if you widen it even just a little bit, that actually, and you keep doing that, then further down the road, it's going to be wide open.
You've got to keep hope alive. Langston Hughes said it. Was it hope? Without hope, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. I love that. I love that quote.
You know what? That's a good quote. And I'm going to put a pin in that, because I'm going to steal that and use that. But however, I'm going to come back to something you said about that quote by Eleanor Roosevelt about it doesn't matter how many people can call you a dog, is whether you bark or not. So let's actually go back to this, especially around this whole concept of relationship. Since we are in that Valentine weekend, let's look at relationship, because if we were to take on board what mainstream media has put out there, especially regarding Black on Black relationship, that we are actually a lost and hopeless cause.
Can I give you some stats that I dug up?
Oh, sure.
You ready? Are we nearly 9 o'clock? This is a horror show. Okay. This is way back in 2007, and things have got worse. Is by 2017. But apparently, when it comes to family breakups, here are the runners and the riders. Indian families have 10% of them breaking down,
right,
and being led by single mothers. The next group are the Bangladeshis, 12%. Next group, Pakistanis, 13%. Next group, Chinese, 15%. Next group, white, that's Caucasian, 22%. Guess where the Afro-Caribbeans are?
50%?
Almost. Actually, it peaks at 48%.
Okay.
That is just a staggering stat.
That is.
And of course, this is the official national statistics. What this also means is that the outcomes for kids who are being raised in single-parent families. Of course, there are fantastic single parents everywhere, as we all know. But everything is much more difficult for them. Educational attainment is challenged. Employment opportunities are challenged. They're more likely to become homeless. They're more likely to come to the attention of the police in the wrong way, not as heroes of the day, and so on and so forth. So of course, whether they're married or they're not married, the baseline thing is relationships, and let's talk about it.
So yeah, let's actually get into it, especially around the ethnic community. We are talking about the ethnic community. In fact, let's make this. Let's do this. I know the show is for people of color, but let's focus on this evening. What's going on with Black love? I mean, I know we
What
have.
trends are you seeing? I'd love to know.
I know we have Michelle and Barack shining that flag out there. Don't you just love them? They're shining that flag out there for Black relationships. Like that becomes hashtag relationship goals. But what's really going on?
Plus 2 dogs.
That's a really interesting question, because if you walk on the streets of London and you look around, and you would be saying, where are the Black on Black relationships? Because there are more blended families or blended relationships, for want of a better term. Yeah.
Blended.
Yes. So I'm not sure what's happening. You know, there are times where I'd like to. Some of the white women that I see with Black brothers, I'd like to go and ask them, so excuse me, where and how did you meet him? Because I have no idea. And it's interesting because when it is that you talk to some Black men, that they don't find Black women attractive, you know, and it's that whole idea that Black women are hard work. And so therefore, actually, I don't find that sexy, or I don't find that attractive, which kind of means that the single Black woman, yes, is out there.
The weird thing is that a lot of people think that my partner has got to be Caucasian. And I don't know what you'll say. Is there a sign on my forehead? Is it?
You know what? You were going to get us in so much trouble.
It's an adult show.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, is that I don't actually, and I make a point of noticing and giving the kid a thumbs up and so on and so forth. When I see actually Black families, there's the he and the her, and, you know, little Johnny, little Jane, or Kwame, or whatever, I'm actually thrilled. But often you only see one parent but the other, and the others, the average is rather different. You know, kind of, you see in other communities, you see lots of couples all loved up and so on and so forth. So there we go.
Yeah, I get excited as well, actually. I've taken pictures, and particularly when it is I see older kind of, I get really excited. And I've taken
Actually,
pictures.
I see more older couples together than young, socially active, kind of economically active Black couples together.
I think that there are a couple of things, and we can kind of introduce a couple of points in there, because the fact that, you know, when you start looking at the older couple, some of them stay together out of the fact of sheer stubbornness. Some of them stay together because they had to make it work. But then now we're looking at now. I actually think that there are a lot of young people growing up, and I'm talking about kids growing up, and all they see as representation is the blended couples. Yeah. So instantly we're being
their life goal.
They're
normal.
That's basically it. So they're being told and being fed that you date that or you date that. You don't date each other, because if you look at a lot of the commercials, it's either Black guy, white girl, Black girl, white guy, a mixed girl, mixed guy with somebody of Chinese, other ethnic group. It's never, you never actually directly see two Black people. And I am so tempted to name and shame companies.
Do it.
Listen, we're not yet.
It's not late enough.
It's not yet late enough. But the irritation for me, let me say this: I am in no space to talk about blended couples, because I have a grandmother who is white. Yeah. I have nephews. I have first cousins who are half white, who are half.
They're all over my family.
So exactly.
So we got them. I got them in every continent.
So this is not a case of no to other relationships.
Love comes in different shapes and packages and colours and cultures.
But what we're saying here is that when you look at the mainstream media, what they try to do and what you get in terms of the byline is that if a Black couple is shown on TV together, they're never happy. I think it was for Curry's or August over Christmas, where basically It was a black family, little black kids, and the parents were just the woman was fed up with the guy because he was behaving like a twat. But that was basically the black couple. But I think John Lewis came out and knocked that out of the park with the girl and the trampoline and the dog, and that became that was just so beautiful. It irritated a lot of people, but hey ho, that was John Lewis actually stood to the forefront and said, no, this is a black couple, this is a black family, and we need more representation. Not we need it for the kids coming up. We need it for Carole, what do you think?
But I think the interesting thing is that nothing's changed, because I think that before we weren't looking to the mainstream for our answers, didn't we? We had Jet, even though they were American, but we had Jet magazine, we had Ebony, we had Essence, and we were actually doing a lot of our kind of focus around that because nobody else was catering to the black community. And the moment, and it's a bit like, I guess, integration, because whilst we were segregated, people worked together, and that we had more communication and stuff with each other. The moment integration was introduced, that all of a sudden that separated, and we were now over here. And I think it's almost the same kind of thing, because now mainstream, because if we look at things like The Voice and The Journal and those days, when nobody else was covering black news or news from a black perspective, and so they had a very important role to play in that space. And then the mainstream started to cover things, not in the same way, but they started to cover things. So we had less interest in the things like The Journal. In fact, The Journal, I always remember, The Journal was a broadsheet newspaper with excellent news and journalism, and the community didn't want it. It didn't.
Can I fess up? I was actually on the team that started The Journal, the weekly journal. It's the first black broadsheet in Britain. And the cost of producing it was enormous, absolutely enormous, because the standard had to be so high and so on. But it kind of hit the circulation drop that other newspapers experienced much earlier. Yeah. So when I started my next newspaper, which was New Nation, I went for a tabloid, and figures went in the opposite direction. But it's so interesting what you say, because from my viewpoint, one of the problem is that I'm suddenly noticing, and the driver for this is my daughter. She's coming at that age when she's a young woman, second year in university, and so on and so forth. I'm suddenly seeing things through her eyes and what she's got to look forward to. And I've become very conscious that actually young black females aren't celebrated enough or at all, unless you're a sports star or you're a musical genius, or something like that. But she's probably going to become a lawyer, but I don't see, which is just a normal job.
Yeah, but I think that's why movies like Hidden Figures is so important. We have not celebrated black women enough.
Yeah.
We have not celebrated people of color. Now we're coming away from the black, but people of color who have made incredible contribution. Now it's funny because over here, and this is what I found really amazing, that when they've taught black history, is always from the perspective of slavery. But we never actually get into it and find out what happened afterwards. What came after slavery? What came before slavery? Yeah. And that whole conversation piece, when you start looking at people that, and you look to the United States and you see some of the people that made massive contribution. The vacuum cleaner that we cannot live without today was made by a black person. The heart valve, which for the heart bypass, was made by a black person. Yeah. So when we start, even down to something as simple as the comb, was made by a person of color. So when we start doing that, we have to know that we want to celebrate, we have to do it. And that's a great place to segue into our So Loud moment for today. So Carole, since you're our guest, it's only right to have you give our So Loud moment for today.
Well, actually, I think for me, one was a personal one. And then the other one was about the Obamas. The Obamas leaving office, They were in the White House for 8 years with no scandal, nothing. You know, that whatever it is that you have to say about them, they always presented a united front.
So they live together in the one. Actually live together.
Are you casting shade? It's too early to cast shade, but you know, I mean, if she needs to blink once to say she needs help, or twice to say come rescue me, that's all she has to do. There are people waiting in the wings.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Just blink, lady. Just blink.
But yeah, just that whole idea, and just
say
carrying herself as a woman, and me looking at the whole issue of kind of personal branding of the Michelle Obama brand. Oh my gosh. You know, I don't think America is still yet ready for a a female president. But if Michelle put her hand in the ring,
she might get it.
Well, you know, actually, she came out and said that she has no delusions about her personal strengths and so on. And the thing is that she says that she just doesn't have the patience. Yeah, because you have to deal with so much nonsense.
Yeah. She's done it as the president.
Yeah, but also she does not have the poker face for it. Did you see the face at inauguration? Yeah. Did you see that face she pulled? She cannot do. No. Michelle has her abilities are great, but I don't think she has the poker face for the presidency. So let's leave her out of that. But you know, I think you're right. Celebrating the Obamas is a great moment. That's a great So Loud moment. Celebrating what Michelle Obama achieved in that 8 years is a great one. But let's talk about your personal So Loud moment.
Well, my So Loud moment is that for ages, I grew up in the church, and there was a chorus that they sung, and it only takes a spark to get the fire going, and then all those around can warm up to its glowing. And it got me thinking about about a personal brand and the brand story, and the fact that sometimes all we need is a spark to just kind of ignite the fire under that personal brand. So I have now created my Spark program, and Spark, S is for story and superpower, because we've all got one. P is for passion, A is for authentic voice, R is for relevance, and K is for know-how.
Oh, I like that.
And so it's that kind of whole thing about just helping people to just really connect with their awesome. And I love that word. And until I find another word, that's my word. To connect with their awesome so that they can actually sprinkle that on everything it is that they do. Because the moment you show up as you, that there is no competition. The only competition is the person in the mirror. And one of my great examples recently was I went to an event, and I'm sitting near the back in the corner, and the person that was kind of presenting had kind of gone out to the toilet, and my friend had gone to the toilet at the same time. And the woman said to her, "I can feel your energy in that part of the room." And subsequently she called me, and we had a conversation, and she said, "I could just feel your energy." And for me, that's it. Though you didn't have to say anything, that you need to just show up. Because I think that the brand story begins the moment you show up, whether that's in person or online, and it's before you have uttered a single word. The moment it is that you show up, that people already have decided something about you.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you're aware of that and can just kind of really connect with your energy, with your essence, you can help to dictate some of the things it is that they think about you just by showing up. And so for me, that's it. So now I have got my Spark program, and I piloted something I refer to as the Spark Intensive, and I spent
Spark Intensive.
I like that.
Really
and so I spent 6 hours with someone, just getting them to just really to peel back the layers, to just really start to see the diamond on the inside, so that they could start to do the polish, so that they could connect more purposefully with who it is that they need to connect with.
How do people connect with you on this? How do they find out about the Spark program? Right. How do they?
Well, I've got a website. Good. Actually.
Well, tell us.
Right, so I know.
And can you tweet it?
What's the name? Yes.
And hashtag the show.
Yeah.
Right after.
Yeah, I will.
Well,
so I'm passionate about words, because I think words paint pictures, and I love the way that they connect with one another to just kind of create the kind of the images in our minds and how it is that we share and communicate with other people. So my umbrella is Words That Deliver. So the website is www.wordsthatdeliver.com. And you can find out some more about me.
Words that deliver.
Yeah, so you can find out more about me there and connect with me. And I would just love to hear from people that just want to find the spark so that they could show up in person, on purpose, and on time.
Okay, so you know what? You're talking about your Spark Intensive, and your programs. What is your spark? Because I've heard about the stroke. I've heard about the woman. I've heard about, but what sparks you? What makes you go, yeah, you know what? I am the baddest thing on the face of the planet. I am so much and more. What is your spark?
Right, well, first of all, I'm a hugologist. Ooh.
What's that?
So hug is an acronym for hearing, understanding, and giving back value. And I love the physical hugs, but I also love the thing that when it is that you say something or smile at someone, how it impacts them, how it is that they then smile, and that even if they're having a bad day. So one of my funny quips is that if somebody's crying, I always often feel that actually I don't know what to do to help them stop crying.
Yeah. Many people
so I say to them, oh, there are 38 toxins in each tear, so you are detoxing at the same time. So keep crying. And at that point, that's what it is that they do. They laughed. So there is that whole interrupt. So I guess my thing is about I smile, I hug, and I have the most amazing analogies that even I sometimes think, where did you get that from? But that whole thing about, because I feel as though my job, my role is to help people to widen their perspective. And from that, I need to meet them where it is that they are and actually just work with things it is that they would understand. Because it's about painting those pictures, about getting people to see things just from a different angle, a different place. Because I think that if I can help them to create an oasis in the midst of their crap, when you go back to whatever it was that was challenging you, whatever the issues are, you can't go back in the same way. It's not possible. And so it's about creating that oasis. And so my whole energy and the fact that I smile through adversity and that I'm a bounce back person, I'm all about, yeah, you fall down, you just got to get back up and just keep going. That all that combination makes an amazing stew.
Oh, I like that. So,
but also, see, I mean, I'm trying to pull the strings together of all of this, and it all comes back down to about your personal brand. It comes down to authenticity. I mean, a lot of people go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and so on, and they haven't thought about the authenticity piece. They go there and they think, well, you're supposed to do this, or everybody says you should do that, without having first thought about who they are and what their purpose is, what their mission is. Can you shed a light on that?
I think what you've just said is just spot on. And, and I've been in that space as well, where it's because somebody's doing X and you think that that's the way it is that you're supposed to do it. It has to come back to there are just so many people doing exactly the same thing as you. There are just so many people, and therefore you have to find your difference, your uniqueness in the middle of all of that. And the only thing that you actually have in the palm of your hand is you. And it is that whole thing that, and once it is, and if you spend the time on being a better version of you, you don't have to learn anything. You don't have to find, you don't have to think, oh my gosh, what did I say last time? You don't have to find new lines. You just show up as you and actually value that and that recognize
rock your role.
That's it.
Yeah. Who says that? Jennifer Garrett. Jennifer Garrett. Yeah, she says you've got to rock your role.
That's it. But it is that whole thing about recognizing that. I think that education has done us a disservice, that when it is that you go to school, that they want you to be like so-and-so, that you're always striving to kind of be like that person because that person's ahead of the pack or what have you. But your learning style might be different. The way in which it is that you show up may be different. And what it is that we need to be doing is we need to go back to the root word of education, which is to draw out of, not to put in, and recognize that in all of us there is something that we do things a little bit quirky. We may tell some jokes. We may be witty in what it is that we do. We may do something standing on our heads. Whatever it is that it is, we need to own that.
But the interesting thing as well is that when a person is actually authentic, when a person is true to themselves, ideas keep bubbling up because you never stop being yourself. And you keep just driving through life, being yourself. And you don't have to scratch your head for ideas. Often when people are stuck, it's because they're not allowing their authenticity.
Yeah, I think that's that. But you know what? I really wanted to come back to something that we're talking about, and I have to come back to it because we are that whole love moment.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we have to
absolutely.
keep driving this. So let me ask you this: as a single Black woman, as a single woman of color, what would you say to other women who want to stand out and find that special relationship? What should they be doing?
I'm listening carefully to you.
Well, I'm obviously not talking from a position where I found it because I haven't, but I think that the greatest joy comes from it's back to that whole thing about being you, because I think that the sexiest woman alive is a woman that knows who it is that she is and is cool with that. You know, and I've learned that more and more over the years, because when it is I leave my house and go out and people say, "Oh, you're glowing," or "You look amazing,"
just clap.
and I think, but I'm
For
not,
you being yourself.
but I'm not wearing any makeup, so you know, and I'm not trying to do anything or be anything other than be myself and just to enjoy. So wherever it is that I am, me personally, is that if I've taken the time to get there, my job is to enjoy myself.
Okay.
You know, and so I think that's the first thing is you need to enjoy yourself being you, because he's going to find you, or you're going to connect with him on the road of you being you. Yeah. Because in real terms, every man out there is actually looking for a real woman, even though the magazines and the press and stuff will tell us something else. They want a woman that actually is comfortable in her own skin. And so that's where it is that we need to start, and it's going to be there.
I mean, I'm but a man. What do I know?
No. We will not have any of that self-effacing nonsense here.
No, don't fall into the trap. I wanted you to say.
Oh yeah. We're not playing. We're not playing.
You're so naughty. Oh, she's so terrible. Now, but the point I wanted to make is that actually we live in a society, because I work in the media, we live in a society in which ordinary people are being gaslighted all the time. They're being bombarded with images of how they should be, how they ought to be, and especially I find I've recently learned actually how much women are shamed for stuff.
Oh,
I don't know. It is outrageous.
Hey, that in itself is a whole new story, and it's
a whole program.
It's a whole.
Yeah.
In fact, you know what? We should get you back in and get somebody else, another fabulous woman that I'm thinking. Get you both around the table, and we'll talk about shaming in the color community, in the people of color community.
It's repugnant. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. But what that does is that it drives people away from being themselves, away from their authenticity. And of course, it's the very authenticity that they're going to need to be happy, and so on. Yeah. And we're running out of time.
Well, you know what? I think
I have one more question.
No, one more.
This is. Where did you get that necklace?
That's a good question. I can't quite remember. I just love bold things. I love things that actually stand out and actually say, because this is me. You know, whole thing is that I'm bold. Because actually, I hugged Nelson Mandela. Just to demonstrate my boldness. When he came to Brixton, he came to London, and I was with the Prince's Trust, and he was walking around shaking people's hands, which is absolutely fabulous. But I stood there and in that moment thought, I'm not shaking your hand. I'm hugging you, and I'm a hugger, and so it just all made perfect sense.
It was natural, spontaneous, and he probably embraced
it. In the first instance, it was like, okay, but yeah, he hugged me back. And I think it's those things of just recognizing the value of who it is that you are, because when you show up as you, stuff moves.
Oh, of course.
You know, yeah.
So I think the necklace is a statement piece, but the earrings on it as well.
Covered by those cans. Take off the cans.
You know, the earrings are
and do it. Oh my goodness!
Are just absolutely fabulous.
I missed that.
Yeah, I saw them when she came in.
Wow.
I just want to say this is how I roll.
Oh, of course.
I'm loving it.
But you know what? Carole, it's been an absolute delight, and I don't believe that we're almost out of time. So what I want us to do is we have to look at getting you back in. We have to look at sharing some more of your work that you do. And you know what? I know you shared your So Loud moment, but your Spark program sounds absolutely amazing. And so, yes, that's our So Loud moment for the week. Is the Spark program. And that and the Spark Intensive, and for people to really take ownership and show up and Shine Out Loud. So for everybody listening, I want to thank my incredible guest, the fantastic, sensational, sexy, beautiful, delectably delicious Carole Pyke.
I thought you were doing. Brilliant. Yeah, I can't end any more. Thanks so much for coming. And
Thank you.
Also, I don't think you hear stuff like we discussed anywhere else.
Exactly. So, thank you for listening to the show. The incredible man with a voice, Mr. Tate Kofi, in the corner over there. And we're going to do this again next week. If you're listening, subscribe to us. Join us online on Shine Out Loud, Shine Out Show on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're trying to find us, we're in shineoutloud.tv. But most importantly, just drop us a message and talk to us. Next week, we're going to have the lady who was supposed to be our first guest. Oh,
yes.
Sheila Knowley is coming in the house.
So yeah, we'll get that sorted out.
Okay, so looking forward to next week. Anyway, one more time, let's thank Carole.
Oh, thanks for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @ShineOutShow.